believe it or not, my friends, believe it or not, there is actually other news besides the government shutdown. In fact, North Korea bubbling up a little bit again in the news as talks of a potential plan for another Trump-Kim summit are happening. And I have been mostly following the shutdown. So when that happens, I get Bill Zimpfer on the phone. He is an NBC News national correspondent and has been keeping up with all of this. Bill, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Dana. Good afternoon.
Happy Friday to you, sir.
I'm loving it.
Me too. I'm ready. Listen, catch us up. What's been going on between the U.S. and North Korea?
Well, there have been talks that have been held on a lower level basis for a while now between United States representatives and, Stephen Biegun, the U.S. Special Representative for North Korea, has been involved in talks from time to time. But we're getting today the first high-level talks between North Korea and the United States since last November when Mike Pompeo went to Pyongyang. And after that, North Korean representative was supposed to come to New York, but he called off that trip. These are the first high-level talks taking place today in Washington. And as we speak, Mike Pompeo is meeting with Kim Jong-chol, who is, by all reports, the right-hand man to Kim Jong-Un. So those talks today are expected to center on Trump-Kim 2, the second summit meeting between the two. And, believe it or not, Dana, Kim Jong-chol has with him one of those infamous letters from Kim Jong-un that President Trump so enjoys receiving. He's got one to deliver today. So they are expected to go over the White House later today to deliver that letter to President Trump. It is expected to be a formal invitation from Kim Jong-un to sit down for summit number 2.
Another love letter from Kim Jong-un. Oh, that's exciting. The bromance continues. But listen, look, here's the question I have, I guess. That's all well and good that we keep having, well, I shouldn't say keep if we're only, heading into number 2 summit.
Right.
But what's the point of it? What are we trying to accomplish?
Well, that's exactly the question that everybody is asking now. After summit number 1 in Singapore, it produced a general agreement on denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. North Korea agreed to work toward that. President Trump said that he would provide some protection agreements for North Korea, would stop military drills with South Korea. But it was so general that there really was no specific measuring stick that we could have after that. Now, since then, we have learned that North Korea really hasn't done anything. Yeah, they have blown up some tunnels at their nuclear testing site, but that site was reportedly damaged beyond repair in the last nuclear test about a year and a half ago.
Right.
Yes, they shut down a missile engine testing facility. However, it also was said to be obsolete. We have had recent reports that they're actually increasing missile production at some of their factories and continuing to produce fissile material that can be used in nuclear weapons. So that last agreement was a general agreement, a lot of handshaking and smiling, and that's about it. It was a made-for-TV event. We really haven't seen much happen afterward.
Right, and I think, there's some concern, I guess depending on which experts you speak to or listen to, that we are just by going and having these meetings and doing that glad handing and, elbow touching and all the weirdness that goes on there, that we're giving Kim Jong-un some credibility on the world stage that he didn't have before. Is that still an ongoing concern, do you think?
Yeah, it is. And I think that he has gotten some global credibility. You look at a recent report that came out by military officials in the Pacific Theater that said that labeled North Korea as a nuclear power. Well, that gives Kim Jong-un a little more spring in his step because that's exactly how he wants to be known, on par with other nuclear powers like Russia and China and the United States. So, yes, it does legitimize him and his reign globally. And how about this for you? There are analysts, Dana, that believe that Kim Jong-un wants so badly to meet with President Trump because he feels he can get a better deal from President Trump than he could get working through the standard channels like Secretary of State Pompeo. He feels that he can work President Trump a little bit and get a better deal face-to-face.
Oh, boy. NBC News national correspondent Bill Zimpfer on the phone with us right now, weighing in on all that's going on between the United States and North Korea. I was just reading, Bill, this morning that there are some meetings also going on between top North Koreans and top Americans in Stockholm. while all this other stuff is going on. What are you hearing about that?
Yeah, and it was a little confusing on the timetable on this because the North Korean vice foreign minister is involved in this, and they kind of tipped their hand earlier in the week on this because all of the travel out of North Korea has to go through Beijing. So at the stop in Beijing, the North Korean vice foreign minister said, "I'll see you in Sweden." So everybody said, okay, now. And then there was word that our representative, Stephen Biegun, was also going to go to Sweden. I was initially under the impression they were going to go there earlier this week. Then I saw a report today that they were in Washington. Apparently that was incorrect because the latest reports are that those two are in Sweden talking again, working out nuts and bolts of a possible summit. The reason they're in Sweden is that Sweden has diplomatic relations with North Korea, one of the few Western countries that does. And they can act as an intermediary as they did the first time around. So that's why they're in Sweden, kind of working on nuts and bolts of a possible summit. And the higher level people, Kim Yong-chol, is in Washington talking to Mike Pompeo about the very same thing and delivering that letter.
Interesting. Very, very interesting that they'd have all this going on at the same time. So are they just like splitting the difference and hoping one of the meetings works out better than the other?
Well, I think the real work is being done in Stockholm.
Okay.
And in Washington, it's more of the glitz stuff. Okay, I have the letter for you from Kim Jong-Un. Thank you very much. He'll talk to Mike Pompeo about wanting to get together. Meanwhile, in Sweden, they're probably talking about venue, where we're going to be. Are we going to do it in Vietnam, which appears to be the choice for this summit this time around, or are we going to do it somewhere else? That's where I think the real work is being done.
Bill, last question before I let you go. Do you feel like the shutdown situation is or could impact this potential summit in any way?
Well, it depends how long it goes. And keeping our fingers crossed here, if this partial shutdown goes for any amount of time. Now, this summit I don't see happening any time in the near future. It could be end of February, I think, maybe at the earliest, and more likely maybe March or April. Hopefully, this partial shutdown is not lasting till then. If it does, I think it definitely has an impact on it because, on what is seen as could be seen as a made-for-TV event, the summit between President Trump and Kim Jong-Un, there are those who will say, wait a minute, you're going there for some optics on the world stage when you really have to solve a serious domestic crisis here. I think the longer this shutdown goes, the more of a chance that could put this summit in jeopardy.
Yeah, very interesting. I hope you're right about the shutdown not lasting into any kind of time frame where this would matter. Bill Zimpfer, always great to get your input. Thank you so much for being with us. And, I think for me, the biggest concern about all of this is that it's just all pomp and circumstance. It's all showmanship, and that showmanship benefits Kim Jong-un far more than it benefits the United States of America, or Donald Trump personally. And so, if anything, I think it just continues to show Donald Trump in a light that may not be really what he wants right now. Maybe it is, but I think he sees it still as a, look what I'm able to do that no other president before me has done. But if all you're doing is meeting and shaking hands and making these sort of general agreements like happened last time, but not actually getting North Korea to actually denuclearize, then you're really not doing anything the presidents before you have done except being a buffoon and allowing yourself to be manipulated. And, if Kim Jong-un is benefiting on the world stage, which again, Bill Zimpfer, confirmed that is happening, that's not a good thing. And we have seen in the last year, Kim Jong-un spending more time with the leader of South Korea, more time with the leaders of China, and getting sort of more noteworthy in the world. And that is in part because Donald Trump has legitimized him. And so, at the same time, after they met, and despite the love letters that seem to go back and forth, well, does Trump send love letters back, or is this a one-way pen pal thing? Does he write letters? I don't know.
That's a good question. Yeah. I don't know if he writes them back or not.
I don't either.
Maybe he has someone transcribe his words or something for him. Possibly.
Well, you can't. Here's the thing: you can't do like the I heart, like the heart icon on a printed letter.
XOXOXO.
Right. I don't know how you can't tweet back at that. I don't know. But look, I'm joking, obviously. But if all the in between the letters, we're also hearing Kim Jong-Un and various high-level North Korean representatives be pretty strong in the media and digitally, whether it's Twitter or wherever else, saying, we're not doing X, Y, and Z, and the president needs to stop his bad talk, and, still playing pretty tough digitally. And then they send the love letters, and President Trump, sort of oohs and ahs over them when they happen. So interesting that another letter is coming his way, because obviously Kim Jong-un has figured out that President Trump likes these letters. So he's going to keep doing it. And he's figured out if he flatters the guy, that's the way to go.